and hiring is not for the faint of heart. Over the past few years, the industry has experienced a significant shift in functionality, making the experience even more complicated, demanding, and trying. Recruitment news often emphasizes the strains and challenges of the industry. Hiring demands, time to fill requirements, and candidate volume and quality have never been under more scrutiny. Recruiters have always been hard workers, but each recruiter I know is a people person by nature. And a huge problem is that we're often so focused on the challenging deliverables in front of us that we heartbreakingly forget to acknowledge the incredible good work people in this industry leave in their wake. Today, I'm chatting with Arunima Chauhan, who shares her story of how a recruiter truly changed her life in a remarkable way. Hello again. My name is Bryant Chase. I'm CareerArc's Director of Social Media and the host of our new series, Help Wanted, where we share inspiring and motivational stories of real people in and around the recruiting industry. In this series, I introduce you to some really special helpers in recruitment. We're going to chat about how their personal lives impact their professional lives and how that all circles back to ultimately benefit the recruiting, talent acquisition, and employer brand specialists of the world. Marissa Gonzalez, our behind the scenes queen, is CareerArc's social media manager and supporting us today. We are so lucky to have her. If you haven't seen last week's episode, it's worth a listen as Vice President of Engineering at CareerArc shares his story of how he found his voice in the workplace and now applies that voice to elevating CareerArc's HR tech platform. Marissa will drop the link in the comments below throughout this episode. So speaking of comments, we are so glad you're here. So please let us know where you're watching and or listening from below. I say listening because we encourage you to listen to this while you work. Just kind of pretend like you're eavesdropping on your neighbor cubicle. We can't really do that with the homework situation as much anymore, but it's still fun to pretend. So as I said before, our guest today is Arunima Chauhan, whose powerful story highlights just how much of an impact those in the recruiting industry have on people. A recruiting team changed her life in a remarkable way, and we're so excited to hear about that from her firsthand. So, Arunima, thank you for joining us today, and we're really excited to hear your story.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. I am super excited to be here. I'm actually quite thrilled that I'm like able to chat with you today.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just introduce myself first. So,
Yeah.
like you mentioned already, I am Arunima Chauhan. I work as a product designer here at CareerArc, and it's been about I think it's been about a year almost. And speaking of that, I'm completing a year just next week, and that's quite exciting.
Congratulations, little
Thank you.
anniversary moment.
Yeah, almost feels like time just flew by and feels like the fastest year so far for me, which is only good thing. So I'm like super thrilled about that.
Yeah. And you've had an amazing impact on things here at CareerArc. Um, but it was the story of how this all kind of started that really led us to this conversation because it's a pretty powerful story, and I was hoping you'd share that with our viewers and the recruiting industry as a whole.
Of course, thanks, Brian. Well, I would like totally want to start with the fact that I completely understand that recruitment, the whole recruitment process is quite the tricky one. It's not easy on either one of the ends, like both the job seekers and the people who are involved in the
Yeah.
recruitment process. And I say that with very close encounters into this paradigm because I used to think that the biggest move and the biggest challenge that I am going to be encountering is the fact that I have to make the move across the world to get an education, get a higher education. Little did I know that that like when you actually get into the real world of recruitment, or when you want to get to that like that perfect job that you have in mind, that's when the real challenge actually starts. And personally speaking, for me, I think it's taken a whole tribe to get me to where I am currently in my career.
Hmm.
That being said, like I have not one but multiple people to like account for this journey that I've come so far into, right? Like,
Yeah.
starting from like me getting the opportunity to even like fly into this country, get the education that I wanted to, study alongside extremely smart individuals, and then getting into the real world that I mentioned. And that's where it started, like about 500 job applications, getting it connected with all kinds of people, like
500.
yeah, 500. Yeah. See, yeah, seems like just a number, but it's a huge number when you're like keeping a track of every single job application that you're doing. Like all the color coordination of the greens is green is a success, and the red is somewhere in the middle. So that can be a little bit of a gruesome procedure. But I think I have fabulous people who have been extremely strong support systems in my job searching journey. So I'm pretty thankful for that.
Yeah,
And
tell me about some of those people because they're it really took a peculiar approach because recruiters do have such a huge impact on people, but it's not often that you hear somebody say, a recruiter really changed my life.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I can't, like, I don't know where to start and where to end, but I can't thank Deborah Rowland, who is the VP of HR at Career Arc. I cannot thank her enough because, like, much like anybody else, it may sound like, oh, just a regular story because I did start off as a LinkedIn application. I was looking for a product designer role, and I came across this one, and I shot my shot and went through it, and I was like, okay, this seems like something that's up my alley, seems like the right fit for me, so let's
Yeah.
just go with it. And that's where I encountered Deborah, and everything has been so different, and everything has been so powerful ever since then, because she then connected me with all the right people. And and I do want to begin thanking Anna Bosertsky, who's the chief product officer,
Yeah.
and obviously then getting introduced to the rest of the team, which has been just I don't have enough words to express the kind of people I work with, but it's just been an upward trajectory ever since then. And I truly believe that it takes the right set of people to get you to that right spot. And I think that may have happened that may have happened very, very, like, personally with me, because
Hmm.
I did apply to so many different kind of jobs, like some felt like the right fit, some felt like an okay fit, but it almost felt like I lucked out with this role that I'm currently in, because it's not just a very powerful role where I get to learn and get to add back, but it's also the kind of people that you work with, that really makes all the difference. At least to me. So I'm grateful every single day for the opportunity that I have to be able to get here. Of course, with its own challenges that I
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
adapt to as well. But yeah.
So tell me, it was such a huge deal to you for a specific reason to get this job, but why was it such a huge deal? And I know that you're going to kind of backtrack to a series of events that resulted in successfully making it to where you currently are today. So tell me a bit about that as well.
I mean, it's kind of hard to like scrunch everything in these many minutes, but I'm quite excited to tell you about these challenges, because I feel like there's so many people, both like job seekers and recruiters, who can take so much from this,
Hmm.
because it's one, not an easy process. To get a job is a different thing, but to get the right one, I think, is like the major challenge in anybody's life.
Hmm.
And for me, even more so, because I did start off as an international student, and I still accounted to be one.
Yeah.
And that is where that's where the spot is at, right? Like, you make the big decision of your life to move countries. You want to get that education. You want to also stay on top of all the legal formalities, make sure that your finances are in check. You need to make sure that you have the right resources, all of those, like, practical challenges that you come across the way, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're kind of like juggling between doing really, really good at your job, because you just, by default, you just have to, right? Like, that's the
Yeah.
secret of like sticking to wherever you're sticking to, because you just have to work hard and work smart at the end of the day. But other than that, you also have to make sure that you're always one step ahead, like two steps ahead, making sure that all the right information is being communicated to you by the right set of people. So that's
Hmm.
that's a consistent challenge, like, I'll give you one example: the fact that we get limited chances to apply for jobs in the country. So that's something
Yeah.
that you really have to take in consideration.
You
So
get three, right?
yeah, just three chances.
And they have to be within a certain time frame. What's the time
Yes.
frame?
So it's three chances within 90 days. So you have to not only make sure that you get a job, but like, you're only totally lucky if you get the right one. So
Yeah.
I feel like a
Otherwise,
lot
you're
of factors
stuck.
yeah, otherwise you're stuck. Or I mean, otherwise you just have to go back. You have to pack your bags and and wrap it up, and you just have to kind of leave then. Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah.
And but that has an entirely different emotional aspect of things too. So, when you have all these peculiar requirements that are in place that are challenging to meet, even if you're not an international student, but with that added complexity on top of it. And then, in addition to that, you graduated, and sorry if I'm getting ahead of you, but you graduated at like peak COVID, November 2020, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you're
So
right.
not only
Yeah,
are you having to get these jobs, you're trying to get hired in a time frame that's already really complicated for hiring,
yeah,
and people were. I mean, that was at the time where the industry was probably at its most chaotic. Um,
yeah.
so those are
I
the other things that came into play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually call it the cherry on top, because I know that it's a gruesome procedure, but like to graduate when you're, in that peak COVID zone, and also when it's like close to December, which is like almost sleepy time for people, and you're not interacting with
Yeah,
the job seekers anymore.
that
And like,
too.
it's that 1 month where you're like, like just less contact in general professionally. So
Hmm.
you're kind of thriving and you're, dealing with that anxiety of being able to be employed as soon as possible. So that definitely has its own course of taking a toll on you. And speaking of emotional factors, like because of the fact that things have worked out really well in my favor, and of course it's because of so many different factors that we've already spoken about.
Hmm.
I think I really can't, forget to mention my parents, who are the first two people that come to my mind, because like they were the ones who gave me the opportunity to like, be fully supportive in my decision of like making the move, getting a different education, be fully supportive of the job that I'm doing. I had the
Yeah.
opportunity to also meet them, a couple of months ago, and just to look at them be so proud of the life that I have created, and how all of that has just come as a full circle. It's scary, but it's also really special to see, like you've come really far because of all that hard work put into the journey. So I'm just really, grateful for the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, not just very far. You said you were the first person in all of your
Yeah,
family to have made this, like to have gone across the
yeah,
country, and now you've acquired a
yeah.
graduate
Well,
level education, and
yeah. Yeah, I am the first person in my family who has made it this far, like across, countries, and acquiring a grad degree and stuff like that. Also, there was this time, like just very recently, when I did meet my dad, and this may sound a little personal, and I don't mean to touch any nerves, but he said that, I don't mean to like interject or interfere too much, but I know that the kind of money that you may be making right now is more money than the money that I made when I had three children. So that definitely hits home, and it makes you feel like, you've done a set of, like right few things in your life to have actually gotten here, and all of that hard work and the challenges, and getting acquainted with the right set of people, it kind of like all accounts to, a successful trajectory that I'm moving towards.
yeah, and that's such a powerful thing. And I'm nothing too personal on this series in my personal opinion. I love it. I appreciate you sharing that with us. That's such a
Of
big
course.
thing, and now that you work in a space where you create you create a product for recruiters, you work on designing a product for recruiters, how do you take what has happened and put that back into your work today?
Well, to be honest with you, Bryant, I've been very design like integrated in design since I was very very young. Like I was
Hmm.
16 when I again left home to do my undergrad in fashion design, and then of course like when I graduated, I worked in different industries. Like I worked in retail, I worked in a social media agency. I also had a chance to like explore freelance as an option. Got myself to self teach a few softwares to be able to create, work for clients.
That's
So it's been
impressive.
a mixed bag for me. And, me at the end of the day, acquiring that, grad education and being able to work at a tech firm before career arc. And so it's a whole mixed bag of, different kind of experiences that I have collected over the past. And also that's truly helped me identify my sense of aesthetic slash style, or whatever it is that closely fits with me as a designer. And I
Hmm.
feel like at the end of the day, our product is excellent, and we're trying to solve the
Yeah.
right problem. And as a designer, I would really like to add to the personality of that product and make it even more sophisticated, for the client, and make sure that all that I have learned over the past years in terms of design and logic and the whys behind things, and what is it that the user really wants to see and feel inside that product. So
Yeah.
that makes us a big part of my role, and I would want to continue to like learn and add back as much as I can during the course of my time here. So
Well, you do. You have an impeccable sense of style. And like the fact that you have a background in fashion is something that you haven't brought up yet too, but I think you do have an ability to see something and understand how it should look and how it could look for functionality, for use case, for just aesthetics, and
Mhm.
you apply that back into our product
Yeah,
in such an incredible way, and we're just so
thank you.
lucky to have you. So you are
Thank
not
you
the
so
only
much.
one who is thankful to. And again, I'll shout them out again. Our VP of People Operations, Deborah Rowland, and our Chief Product Officer, Anna Brzezinski,
The best.
who helped getting you here. We are so lucky that they knew how to approach that with you, how to bring
Yeah,
on an international student in a cohesive and supportive way, in a way that
yeah,
you have communicated you felt supported the entire way through. Um,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
the fact that you kind of show your appreciation in certain ways through the development of our product and design is just really fantastic. And so for those of you recruiters out there, you really do change people's lives. Arunima is a perfect example of that. And Arunima, we have to go ahead and
Absolutely.
sign off now, but thank you so much for being here and sharing your story, your powerful, powerful story with us. And we
Thank
have
you,
just
Brian.
got my pleasure. So our LinkedIn contact information, both is going to be in the chat below. So please reach out to us, contact us if you have questions about an experience as an international student, or if you have questions about social media, recruiting, or anything along those lines. Please reach out. We love hearing from you and are thrilled to share next week's episode as well. So another good friend of Arunima's and mine. Next week we are having our first industry specific chat with former restaurant manager Taylor Cartmill, who reminds us that the most expensive part of a business is the people that work for it. Now working at CareerArc, she explains the difference between tirelessly working for every new hire versus readily selecting from a pre-prepared list of top talent. In an industry that is always posting for help wanted, it's an eye-opening perspective shift every industry can learn from. So, Arunima, thank you again for being here this week, and everybody, thank you here for joining, watching us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you,
Bye.
Brian.